Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good week so far, halfway through the week. Final race of the season this Sunday at Homestead Miami Speedway. 4 drivers going for the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series Championship. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin. Highest finisher wins the championship. So hopefully we'll have a good race Sunday and see what happens. I didn't have any new boxes or any new cases. They're cards or packs that I wanted to open, so I thought I'd just do a different episode here, and I'd show a little bit of my PC here, and what I'm going to show is my in-person autograph cards. So I wanted to do a live stream on this, to do a practice live stream, but unfortunately my channel does not allow me to do live stream on mobile yet, so hopefully we'll get there for you guys. So we'll just start off here. I've got a handful of stacks here that are pretty big, and I occasionally go to Indianapolis Motor Speedways where I've got most of these driver autographs. So I would get a hot pass. You've probably seen my hot passes over here in the corner down at the track where I go at Indy. So we'll start off here. This one, I'm not going to go into detail about where I've got these at, but you see Paul Andrews there, former crew chief for Alan Kulwicki. Andy Hillenberg. Some of these autographs will be like this one. I used a Sharpie, had the driver use a Sharpie that wasn't very sharp. It was a little more blunted, so a little bubbling there in the signatures. That's something that I tell people when I get autographs. I like to have brand new Sharpies. Here's Haley Deegan. I met her at Locust Oil Raceway earlier this year. Reed Sorensen. Brian Clausen tragically passed away in a sprint car crash a few years ago. And I'll have multiples of some drivers. There's Danica. Always liked her signature. Thought it was very deliberate and clear. Bubba Wallace. Chip Ganassi has a very unique signature. Derek Cope, very distinct signature on his as well. I like using cards that are also have a matte or a flat finish versus a glossy finish so that the ink will absorb into the card. I think it's a little more attractive that way versus one that bubbles up or streaks real bad. Brad Keselowski, this card celebrating his first career Cup Series win back in 2009 at Talladega. Christopher Bell, one of the 4 drivers in the Xfinity Series going for the championship this weekend, along with Tyler Reddick. Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier. Chase Elliott, more popular driver on the Cup Series now. Matt Tifft, who is currently out of action on medical leave. Hopefully he'll be back next year. William Byron, currently the highest ranked of the Hendrick drivers, 9th in points going into Homestead. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year? Dale Earnhardt Jr., multiple-time most popular driver. Ryan Reed, who's only ran a handful of truck races this year after Lilly sponsorship left his Roush team last year. Got another Ryan Reed. Jimmy Means, who owns David Starr's car in the Xfinity Series. So I've got a few of Jimmy's cards autographed here and there. Jack Roush, of course, car owner for Ryan Newman and, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right now. Okay, there's a card that shows the bubbling. Justin Allgaier, you see how it's kind of streaked and bubbles a little bit. Card's a little glossy, and probably didn't have a real sharp marker either at the time. Ryan Blaney, back when he was driving for Brad Keselowski in the Truck Series. Michael McDowell. Kevin Harvick. And I also prefer using cards where there's not a lot of dark surfaces on them. You see Kevin's uniform kind of obstructs the signature a little bit. Tim Fedewa. Again, Brian Scott's autograph is there, just a little difficult to see because of that black background. We have Casey Kane. Nice signature, but unfortunately the marker was a little dry, so it smears a little bit, streaks a little bit. That happens. Landon Castle. Now here's a Harvick autograph that's good and clear, written on the lighter part of the card. And I always try to find cards like this one that are nice to display because you have the driver, you have maybe a car or a trophy or something in the background, and an area where you can get a nice, good, crisp signature. Austin Dillon, again, you see that marker was obviously worn down, a little streaked. Occasionally I will use different colored markers just to add a little flavor to it. So I had a gold Sharpie here for Regan Smith. Paul Menard, again, and it looks like that one may have been a fine tip Sharpie. Looks like it was a little bit of bubbling, but not too bad. Michael McDowell again. Again, I like using the cards that don't have a lot of surface issues as far as, there's Jeff Green, have a more matte or I guess I could call it a dry surface. So, A.J. Allmendinger, again, a dark surface. Autograph doesn't show up real good, especially on camera. There's one that shows up pretty good. Even though it has a dark background, you do have some contrast in the colors with the background that allows the autograph to pop just a little bit. We have another Jimmy Means. And sometimes the drivers will sign not where you want them to either. T.J. Bell. Like this J.J. Yaley one, he could have signed right up here, but he probably didn't want to sign over his face, so he signed over his uniform, and you really can't see it that well. Matt Crafton. Ty Dillon. And again, you can see the autograph in part of the lighter areas, and then in the darker area, it makes it a little more difficult to see the autograph. Another Ty Dillon. We'll zoom in a little bit here. You can see the signature there, just a little difficult to show up. So again, I try to be a little picky when picking out cards to get signed to make sure that there's not a lot of dark area. Now, if they use a silver or a gold Sharpie, it shows up real well. Got another Austin Dillon. I will have several repeats of certain drivers, and those are obviously the ones that tend to like to sign a little bit more. A lot of people give Austin and Ty Dillon a lot of flack for being the grandson of Richard Childress, but they do sign a lot of autographs, take pictures with a lot of fans. They're very fan-friendly drivers, so I recommend definitely meeting those two if you get the chance. Tyler Reddick, one of the Xfinity Series 4, going for the championship. This is obviously a gold Sharpie that was used. Pops really well off that card. And this Panini certified card is not quite as glossy as the Prisms. I don't like using the Prisms because they're just way too glossy. Chris Buescher, current driver for JTG Doherty, will drive for Roush next year. Basically, him and Ricky Stenhouse will switch rides next year. So Stenhouse will be in the 37 car next year, and Chris Buescher will be in the Roush number 17. Daniel Hemrick, current Cup driver number 8 for Richard Childress. His plans for next season as of right now are unknown. We have David Reagan, whose final race will be Sunday at Homestead. He was retiring from full-time competition. Another David Reagan. The story behind this one, this kind of this purple or, I don't know, maroon or whatever color you want to call that. He was signing as he was going through an area of fans, and I had my Sharpie out. He already had that one in his hand, and he just signed the card with that one. So it is what it is, but it's different. We've got some IndyCar drivers through here that I've went down to the track in May, and during their... this is a bad signature of Bobby Rahal because the Sharpie was pretty much shot at that time. They have a Legends Day where they have a lot of older drivers come down there and sign autographs. So Herm Johnson, who passed away a few years ago. Pancho Carter, 1985 pole sitter for the Indy 500. Wally Dallenbach Sr., who for a long time was the chief steward for the IndyCar series when it was under CART sanctioning. Jeff Brabham, multiple series this guy raced in. Ran in one Cup race, the first Brickyard 400, but most experience in the sports car world and several seasons in IndyCar. Hiro Matsushita, first Japanese driver to race in the Indianapolis 500. Tony Stewart with a worn-out Sharpie. You see again, you can really see the bubbling there on that one. Scott Speed, dark marker, dark surface, didn't turn out real good. Cole Custer, another one of the 4 drivers going for the Xfinity Series Championship this weekend. Now, I met James Hilton about 6 years ago at an ARCA race at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Lucas Oil Raceway, whatever you want to call it now. I asked him to sign a couple cards. He took the whole stack out of my hand, and he signed every last card that I had of him. So, and I had a couple more that I'd given out to a couple of my friends. Richard Petty, I got a handful of his signatures, so, and obviously it would have been nice if he would have used a dark Sharpie on this one, but he used a silver one, but still turned out nice. And Christian Fittipaldi, former NASCAR driver, IndyCar driver, and Formula One driver. So we have a couple more large stacks to go through here. William Byron, Daniel Hemrick. Looks like Matt DiBenedetto when he first came to NASCAR back in the early 2010s. As a development driver for Joe Gibbs, there's Steve Park. Jamie McMurray. Again, some of these cards just bubbled really bad based on the coatings that the cards had. Jeremy Mayfield. So again, try to be particular when you pick cards out. Don't pick one just because you like the card. Pick one out that's going to, the autograph will sustain and stay on the card. Like this one here, Ryan Newman. It's just in really bad shape. Jeb Burton. Here we have David Stremme. And if you get autographs at autograph sessions, the drivers like this one will tend to sign their autograph a little bit better and a little bit more clear. Of course, we all joke about autographs being just a bunch of scribbles. Got a couple Stephen Wallaces there that are in just bad shape. Another Paul Menard. And I got a couple of Terry Labontes here. And I really don't like getting insert cards signed, but I just happen to have this one available that day. The 89 Max Crisco card obviously has a non-glossy surface, so it allowed for a nicer signature. So we have Alex Bowman back in the BK Racing days. I'm going to have a couple of Justin Allgaiers here in a row. Justin is good for signatures. He signs a lot for the fans. Michael Waltrip back in his Pennzoil days. And again, you see on this older card that there's not a lot of streaking. The autograph absorbs well into the card and doesn't smudge, doesn't bubble, doesn't streak. So I like the older cards when I get a chance to get them signed. Now this being a newer card still has an older card look and feel to it. So you see Reed Sorensen's signature did absorb well into that paper. Got Matt Kenseth. Who we have here, Eric Almirola. Got Bill Elliott. Here's one everybody might be familiar with, Jeff Gordon. And again, it was a dark surface that he signed on, so the autograph is there. Sterling Marlin. Again, this is an older card, had plenty of area for him to sign that didn't go on top of him or onto a dark area. So it looks really nice. These are a few older ones that I've had for a while. Ward Burton, and you can tell that because the top loads are a bit faded and the cards are not sleeved within the top loaders, so I need to go back and re-sleeve these. So we got Ward Burton again, Johnny Andretti. Always liked John's signature. John was always very friendly with the fans. This one bubbled a little bit, but still a nice signature of John. Brett Bodine. Robert Presley. Now we're going to some newer ones again. Daniel Suarez, Garrett Smithley, MTJ. We've got Kyle Larson. Greg Biffle always had a bit of an odd signature, just usually signed G. Biff. I guess that's what it looks like. And met Sam Hornish in an autograph session, so he was signing a lot for people that day. Had him sign a few cards that day. And he was very interactive with the fans as well. And again, if you go to autograph sessions, drivers will tend to be more interactive with the fans than if you catch them in a garage area or in any other scene. Brendan Gaughan. Brendan is always a fan favorite when it comes to autographs and interaction. David Gilliland, whose son Todd just recently won a truck race at Martinsville. There's a better Ryan Newman signature. And again, I don't like using insert cards for autographs, but sometimes it's what you have on hand, and that's what I had. Bobby Labonte, 92 Tracks card here, signed really well, and I believe that was Bobby's first career win at Bristol in '91 that they're celebrating there. Another Bobby Labonte card. Another Tony Stewart card. I tried to find a drier card. These 2010 Eclipse cards have a matte finish, so the signatures don't turn out real well on those. Dale Jarrett. I like this card a lot. Dale always signs for the fans. Very friendly. Boris Said. Road Racer. Tried a partial season in NASCAR back in 2005 and 6. Dale Earnhardt Jr. This was the first Dale Earnhardt Jr. autograph that I ever got, and I like that card because this is the first car that he tested for Hendrick Motorsports, and he wanted a throwback scheme on it because Dale Jr. is big into throwbacks and NASCAR history and so forth. Got another MTJ there. Very nice card when he drove for Michael Waltrip Racing. We're going to start rapid firing through these a little bit quicker. Kurt Busch, and another Kurt Busch, I believe. Yes, that is another Kurt. We have Kenny Schrader when he drove for Hendrick in the 90s. I'm going to have a couple Ricky Rudds that I got down at the Brickyard in the early 90s. Harry Gant, this is the 94 Wheels Harry Gant farewell set card out of it. This is his 1984 Southern 500 win. Got a Brad Keselowski there on a 2010 Eclipse. Again, a matte finish. Didn't turn out real good. Same with this one. Then we have Brian Vickers. The signature is barely there. But again, it was a dry marker, a glossy card, and all things that just possible could go bad. Kyle Petty, Dark Surface. Kyle has a really nice signature. I may have another one that pops better. There's another Danica. Really like that one. The first one I showed you earlier I liked a lot better. Another Garrett Smithley, Austin Dillon again, Tyler Reddick, Phil Parsons, whose son Stefan now races in the Xfinity Series, and Christopher Bell. So we got about a stack and a half left to go here. 17 minutes into the video. I want to try to keep this under 25 minutes. Stephen Light, former Cup Series Rookie of the Year. Bubba Wallace, I really like that uniform that he has on. I think it matches good with the 43 there. Of course, that's iconic together, 43 and STP for NASCAR history. Dale Inman, who still works to this day with Richard Petty Motorsports to an advisory capacity, I believe. Max Pappas, a driver coach now for Hendrick Motorsports. Again, we talked about David Reagan earlier. This Sunday will be his last race. Ross Chastain, who is one of the 4 drivers in the Truck Series this weekend going for the championship, and will race full-time in the number 10 Kaulig racing car in the Xfinity Series next year. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who will move to JTG Jordy next year. Donnie Wingo, who works for Front Row Motorsports now, here pictured with Bud Moore's team when he was crew chief for Jeff Bodine. Richard Childers, who still owns RCR Motorsports to this day, or RCR Racing. This is a Dale Jr. card, but has NASCAR President Mike Helton on there. So, always wanted to get Mike on a card. Another Chris Buescher, celebrating his first win in Pocono a few years ago for Front Row Motorsports, sorry. Brad Keselowski. Another Alex Bowman. Kyle Larson. Somewhat of a glossy card, but did turn out really nice. Denny Hamlin, always enjoyed Denny's signatures. He's a really nice driver to meet. David Green, who is now a NASCAR official, as is Elton Sawyer, who recently celebrated his 60th birthday. Always loved this series with the Wheels American Thunder, the Coast to Coast, which documented the drivers, what states they were from in the city within. And it's not a bad signature for Newman. Didn't streak too bad. Another Bobby Labonte. Got another Kurt Busch. I got this one this year at the track. Daniel Hemrick. Andy Petrie, who still works for RCR. Tommy Baldwin, who's with Spire Motorsports now. Austin Cindric, who just missed out on making the championship for the Xfinity Series. We have Jeff Hammond. I believe he works with PRN. He works with a number of different organizations within NASCAR, but this is when he was crew chief for Darrell Waltrip. Xfinity Series driver Ryan Sieg there. Matt Tifft, we talked about him briefly earlier. Jeremy Clements, very fan-friendly driver if you get the chance to meet him. Patrick Donahue, who is a crew chief for Bobby Dodder's team in the Xfinity Series. Joey Gase, Xfinity Series driver. There's Jimmy Means again. I wanted to get a car of his on there. His Alka-Seltzer car was always iconic in the early 90s. Gray Galding, one of the younger drivers in the Xfinity Series. And Cole Custer again. We got one more large stack here. We'll try to go through this as quickly as we can. Morgan Shepherd, back in his Remington days. Probably have a few cards of Morgan here. Morgan's always happy to sign for the fans. There's another one of Morgan with one of his classic cars. Eric Almirola again. We're going to have some duplicates in this stack, of course, because we've been through many drivers. Chris Buescher, Ryan Sieg, we just seen him a few moments ago. Richard Childress. Ryan Newman. Got to be at a few Ryan Newman signings, that's why I have so many. Richard Petty, he always has a very nice signature, is always real deliberate, and always takes time on his signature so that it's very legible and very nice. Another Ryan Newman. Casey Kane with horrible bubbling. Just bad marker, bad card. Good spot, though. He did sign it in a nice spot, just 2 of the 3 things didn't work out there. Brian Clausen, again, tragic loss in a sprint car accident a few years ago. Carl Edwards, who's been retired for a few years. Leonard Wood, one of the famous Wood brothers. Joe Gibbs, NFL Hall of Fame coach and current car owner for Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Eric Jones. And he has 3 of his 4 cars in the championship for this week at Homestead. Another Richard Petty autograph. I may try to get Kyle to sign this one too, since it celebrates both of their wins at Daytona in '79, with Richard winning his 6th 500 and Kyle winning his debut ARCA race in 1979. Pat Tryson, who is a crew chief currently for Premium Motorsports. Ross Chastain, who drives for Premium Motorsports and Nice Motorsports and Colleague Racing and about anything else he can hop in. We have Ryan Truex, the younger brother of Martin Truex Jr., Michael Annett, Rick Corelli, who is a spotter for one of the Gibbs teams. I can't remember who it is. Either Gibbs or Stuart Haas. I get the 2 mixed up on all the former drivers that they have spotting for them. John Hunter Nemechek, son of Joe Nemechek. Paul Wolfe, Brad Keselowski's crew chief when he was driving in the Busch Series back in the early 2000s. Chad Knaus. Corey LaJoie, again, dark card, dark uniform, dark background, dark writing, bad result. Buster Alton, NASCAR official. I believe he's an Xfinity Series official now. Parker Kligerman, NBC, and races for Gaunt Brothers Racing. Andy Houston, spotter for Richard Childress Racing. Jimmy Finnig currently works managerial role for Roush. Was a longtime crew chief for Mark Martin. Got just a couple more small stacks to go, and then we'll be done for the day. Kyle Busch. Josh Wise, again, dark background, dark card, dark marker, bad result. So, got some more IndyCar guys here. Derek Daly. A couple of Derek Daly cards there. Derek Cope. Marcus Ambrose. Kind of a bad signature, but I think the marker was just worn out by the end of the day that day. Spike Gelhausen, former IndyCar driver. Juan Pablo Montoya, Formula 1, NASCAR, IndyCar, anything else he could hop in. Raul Boesel, former IndyCar star. Never won an IndyCar race, though. Patrick Carpentier. Another David Reagan. Jimmy Johnson, 7-time series champion. Janet Guthrie, first woman to qualify for Indianapolis 500. Trevor Bayne, 2011 Daytona 500 winner. We have Elliott Sadler, who just recently retired from racing this year. I believe he ran his final race at Las Vegas for Colleague. Brandon Jones, who recently got his first win at Kansas. Ben Kennedy, grandson of NASCAR founder Bill France Sr. Cole Witt, who retired at the end of last season so he could be more with his family. Brennan Poole, we haven't heard much of him in the last couple of years. Another Jeb Burton. Is that Jeb Burton? Yeah, that's Jeb Burton. Clint Boyer. Another Elliott Sadler. Ray Evernham, former crew chief with Jeff Gordon. Chad Little, who is now a NASCAR official. And I love this card of Richard Petty. And we'll have one more stack and we'll call this video a day. So let's get through this as quickly as we can. We have Jeffrey Earnhardt, Mario Andretti, yes, that Mario Andretti. Arie Luyendyk, former two-time Indy 500 winner. Emerson Fittipaldi right here. Raul Boesel stole the card from me and signed it too, so I got 2 signatures on the Emerson Fittipaldi card. We have a Parnelli Jones, Jimmy Vasser, Little Al, Bill Vukovich Jr., Taro Palmroth. There's a better Bobby Rahal signature. I really like that one. The first one turned out kind of crummy. A very nice Kyle Petty signature. Another nice Kyle Petty signature. I think this is the first time we've seen Eric Jones today. We have another Paul Menard that turned out really good with the gold Sharpie, or kind of a copper-colored Sharpie. Another Ryan Newman. Robbie Gordon, first time we've seen him, so I got a couple of his. Third time we've seen Brian Clausen. Again, tragic loss. Brian was going for a record number of dirt track wins that year when he got killed. Denny Hamlin, Rusty Wallace. First time we've seen Rusty today. Scott Pruitt, former NASCAR and IndyCar and sports car driver, recently retired. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kenny Wallace, who races dirt cars now. We have Dakota Armstrong, former Xfinity Series driver. Michael Annett, current Xfinity Series driver for Dale Earnhardt's junior motorsports team. Here we have Jeffrey Earnhardt, Joey Logano, first time we've seen Joey. Former motocross star Ricky Carmichael when he raced in the Truck Series. We have James Buescher, former Truck Series champion. David Gilliland, and we'll wrap up the racing with Bobby Dotter. And I do have a handful of non-racing cards here that I will show you right quickly. I feel like I'm missing one, but I'm sure it'll turn up somewhere. Have for the Reds, Eugenio Suarez. Got that at a Reds Caravan earlier this year. Ickey Woods, former NFL player. Kevin Nash, former WWE champion. Big Show. Roman Reigns. Brad Daugherty, one of the current owners of JTG Daugherty, and former Hoosiers coach Bob Knight. I am missing one card. It is a Reds card. I can't remember who the player was, but I do know I have one additional autograph card somewhere in this mess. But again, please throw me a follow on Twitter if you get a chance. Get to 100 subs. We're going to give away a Tony Stewart rookie card 1998 VIP. Just want to do a little something different today, so I thank you all for watching. Hopefully the races will be good this weekend. We'll have some good weather at Miami, and everybody will watch that, and we'll have something to talk about next week. So thanks for listening. Have a good day.